You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Effective vulnerability prioritization relies on a blend of quantitative and qualitative inputs. Core factors include CVSS severity scores, whether or not an asset is internet-facing, the criticality of the system, exploitability in practice, and the potential business impact. Together, these dimensions provide a structured way to sort findings from urgent to lower priority. CVSS highlights technical severity, exposure indicates how reachable the vulnerability is, and business impact connects the finding to organizational consequences. Hardened programs never rely on one factor alone. They synthesize these inputs to produce a balanced, risk-driven prioritization process. Beyond core inputs, additional context signals refine prioritization. The number of users a system supports can amplify the importance of a vulnerability. Regulatory sensitivity, such as handling health or financial records, elevates urgency because of compliance consequences. Dependencies also matter. If a service underpins multiple critical applications, a flaw in that service cascades risk across the environment. Hardened organizations incorporate these context signals into prioritization, ensuring that vulnerabilities are addressed not only by technical severity, but also by how central the affected system is to operations and compliance obligations. Attack path analysis adds further sophistication. Instead of looking at vulnerabilities in isolation, analysts study how they connect to form chains that attackers can exploit. Fixing an upstream vulnerability in an exposed system may block multiple downstream paths, making it a higher priority even if its individual severity appears moderate. This perspective transforms vulnerability management into strategic defense planning, where resources focus on breaking likely attack chains. Hardened programs integrate attack path modeling to prioritize fixes that deliver the broadest protective effect across the network. Transitive dependencies, such as vulnerabilities buried in libraries or container images, present unique challenges. While an application may not directly use a vulnerable function, its dependencies may inherit flaws from upstream components. These vulnerabilities often proliferate silently across environments. Hardened organizations prioritize addressing transitive risks at the source, updating or replacing the vulnerable library or container-based image, rather than patching each downstream system individually. This approach not only saves effort but also ensures consistency, closing vulnerabilities across multiple applications in one decisive step. Time-boxed criticality helps determine when immediate remediation is required versus when issues can follow a scheduled patch cycle. Vulnerabilities with active exploits in the wild often demand emergency patching, while lower-risk issues may be bundled into routine maintenance windows. Defining time boxes aligns urgency with operational realities. Hardened programs document these thresholds so teams know exactly when a vulnerability crosses the line from patch soon to patch now. This clarity prevents debates during crises and ensures rapid action when time truly matters. Legacy or unsupported systems complicate prioritization because patching may be impossible. In these cases, organizations must prioritize compensating measures such as segmentation, firewalling, or strict access controls. A vulnerability on an end-of-life system may be critical, but remediation takes a different form, isolating the system or replacing it as quickly as possible. Hardened organizations acknowledge these limitations openly, documenting exceptions and ensuring visibility into risks that cannot be patched away. Prioritization here focuses on containment until longer-term solutions are feasible. Scoring adjustments account for multi-factor mitigations already in place. For instance, a vulnerability affecting authentication flows may be less urgent if all accounts are protected by MFA. Similarly, segmentation or intrusion prevention controls may lower the likelihood of exploitation. However, these adjustments must be applied carefully to avoid overconfidence. Hardened programs reflect mitigating factors in prioritization, without allowing them to erase urgency entirely. This creates a nuanced view where vulnerabilities are ranked realistically while still keeping true fixes in focus. Production environments naturally receive higher priority than non-production ones. Vulnerabilities in production systems affect live business operations and customer data, while those in development or test systems typically present less immediate risk. However, ignoring non-production entirely is dangerous, as attackers sometimes pivot through less protected environments to reach production. Hardened organizations prioritize production first but include development and staging in remediation schedules, ensuring complete coverage. The distinction lies in urgency and order, not in excluding certain environments altogether. Tabletop exercises help resolve ambiguity when high-impact findings do not fit neatly into scoring rules. By walking through scenarios with stakeholders, teams can assess the real-world consequences of exploitation and align on prioritization decisions. For example, a tabletop exercise might explore what would happen if a vulnerability in a payroll system were exploited just before year-end processing. Hardened organizations use these exercises to bring business and technical perspectives together, ensuring prioritization decisions are informed, consensus-driven, and defensible. Escalation criteria define when vulnerabilities demand immediate cross-organizational action. These include flaws with active exploitation in the wild, critical assets directly exposed to the internet, or vulnerabilities that enable privilege escalation across domains. When these criteria are met, remediation cannot wait for routine cycles. Emergency response teams must be mobilized. Hardened programs predefine these triggers, ensuring fast, coordinated action without hesitation. Escalation frameworks make the difference between orderly response and chaotic scrambling when critical vulnerabilities emerge. Historical exploit data provides valuable lessons for refining future prioritization. By studying which vulnerabilities were exploited in the past, organizations can adjust heuristics to emphasize similar traits in new findings. For example, if remote code execution flaws in exposed services have consistently been targeted, they may be prioritized even when CVSS ratings do not capture full urgency. Hardened organizations build feedback loops from history, ensuring prioritization evolves with empirical data rather than static theory. This adaptive approach sharpens accuracy over time. A practical exercise is to take 5 recent critical findings and apply the prioritization matrix. For each, document the CVSS score, whether the system is internet-facing, the asset's criticality, and whether known exploits exist. Then decide whether each case demands immediate remediation or can follow scheduled cycles. For example, an exploitable RCE on a public-facing database would escalate to emergency patching, while a flaw in an internal testing tool might wait. Hardened organizations use exercises like this to train teams, reinforce consistent decision-making, and sharpen prioritization skills across the workforce. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Integrating business calendars and maintenance windows into remediation planning helps align fixes with operational realities. A patch may technically be ready, but deploying it during peak sales periods or financial reporting cycles could create unacceptable disruption. Business calendars provide context so security teams can schedule remediation without impairing mission-critical operations. Hardened organizations coordinate vulnerability response with business stakeholders, ensuring fixes occur quickly but also thoughtfully. This alignment avoids the tension between security urgency and business continuity, turning remediation into a cooperative effort rather than a conflict. Change control automation accelerates remediation for low-risk, well-understood fixes. For example, if a vulnerability is addressed by a widely tested vendor patch, automated change workflows can expedite its deployment without prolonged review. Automation reduces bottlenecks while maintaining guardrails, ensuring that fixes are both fast and safe. Hardened programs reserve manual change control reviews for high-risk or complex updates, while automation handles routine cases. This division ensures remediation velocity improves without undermining system stability or compliance requirements. Remediation efforts must align with ticket prioritization and SLA commitments. A vulnerability flagged as critical should not languish in a backlog while lower priority tasks move ahead. Prioritization ensures remediation effort estimates are matched to realistic deadlines. For example, if a critical flaw has a 7-day SLA, teams must allocate resources to meet that timeline. Hardened organizations synchronize vulnerability prioritization with service-level expectations, ensuring accountability across IT, security, and business functions. This prevents dangerous misalignments where technical priorities fail to match organizational commitments. Cross-team coordination is essential when vulnerabilities span multiple domains, such as applications, infrastructure, and networks. A single vulnerability may require developers to update code, system admins to patch servers, and network teams to update firewall rules. Without collaboration, fixes may be inconsistent or incomplete. Hardened programs establish coordination frameworks that clarify responsibilities, share timelines, and ensure teams work in parallel rather than in silos. This coordinated response prevents vulnerabilities from slipping through cracks during multi-domain remediation efforts. Canary deployments and staged rollouts allow complex fixes to be applied safely. Instead of patching every system at once, organizations deploy updates to a small set of representative systems first. If issues arise, rollback can occur with minimal disruption. Once validated, the fix rolls out in broader stages. This reduces the risk of widespread outages caused by untested updates. Hardened programs integrate canary and stage strategies into their remediation processes, recognizing that security fixes must protect systems without destabilizing them in production. Deferred or accepted risks must remain visible until fully resolved. Too often, exceptions are documented and then forgotten, creating hidden liabilities. Visibility means tracking deferred items in dashboards, reviewing them during governance meetings, and requiring periodic justification for ongoing acceptance. Hardened organizations ensure that accepted risk is not invisible risk. They maintain active oversight until remediation occurs or the system is retired. This accountability ensures that exceptions remain temporary and transparent, not silent vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. Prioritizing vulnerability hunts based on attacker tactics, techniques, and procedures (TTPs) sharpens defense efforts. For example, if threat intelligence shows that adversaries in a given sector often exploit VPN appliances, vulnerability hunting should focus on those devices. By aligning discovery with likely attacker behavior, organizations maximize their defensive impact. Hardened programs use frameworks like MITRE, ATT, and AMP-CK to identify which vulnerabilities align with adversary TTPs, focusing hunting resources where they matter most. This proactive approach closes gaps before adversaries exploit them. Platform controls such as web application firewall rules or intrusion prevention system signatures provide temporary shields while permanent fixes are developed. For instance, a WAF can block malicious inputs targeting a web vulnerability, buying time for developers to release a patch. These compensating measures must be documented and monitored to ensure they remain effective. Hardened organizations apply such controls strategically, knowing they reduce but do not eliminate risk. They are safety nets, not substitutes, and should always feed into full remediation planning. Auditing and reporting demonstrate remediation compliance to executives, regulators, and auditors. Reports may include metrics such as the percentage of critical vulnerabilities closed within SLA, the number of deferred risks, and remediation trends over time. These reports prove that the vulnerability management program is not only functioning but also reducing risk systematically. Hardened organizations treat reporting as both a governance requirement and a communication tool, showing progress and highlighting areas for investment. Transparency strengthens trust across the enterprise. Continuous tuning of prioritization keeps the program aligned with evolving conditions. Key performance indicators, such as mean time to remediate or the frequency of recurring vulnerabilities, highlight where prioritization rules may need adjustment. Threat landscape changes, such as new exploitation trends, may also require reprioritization. Hardened environments regularly review and update their prioritization models, ensuring they reflect current risks and organizational realities. This tuning ensures vulnerability management remains dynamic rather than static, capable of adapting to new threats and lessons learned. Repetitive vulnerabilities signal deeper issues that require root cause analysis. If the same flaw appears repeatedly, such as recurring misconfigurations or repeated use of outdated libraries, it indicates systemic weaknesses. Temporary workarounds may address the symptom but not the cause. Hardened programs investigate why vulnerabilities recur and implement permanent fixes, such as updated baselines, stricter pipelines, or better training. Addressing root causes eliminates cycles of repeated remediation, freeing resources to focus on new risks. Ultimately, vulnerability prioritization is a living process. It requires regularly reviewing criteria, validating outcomes, and adapting to shifting threats and business needs. What was high priority last year may be less critical today, while emerging vulnerabilities demand new urgency. Hardened organizations embrace this adaptability, making prioritization transparent, repeatable, and continuously refined. By treating it as an evolving discipline, they ensure resources remain aligned with the most pressing risks, turning vulnerability management into a sustainable and resilient defense capability. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.